Hey there, my name is Eric, and in today's Goldfish Review, we're breaking down 23andMe versus Ancestry DNA and which DNA testing service is the best for your needs. We'll be going over a quick unboxing, how the services compare to each other, 3 crazy DNA stories I want to share, and how to save money on your DNA kit, and lastly, why 56% of people with my genetic profile prefer vanilla to chocolate ice cream. We're going to keep things moving quickly because Chad here only has a 9-second attention span, so let's get right to it.
I don't need a DNA test to know that you're a Neanderthal.
Sometimes the truth hurts. It turns out that I have 316 Neanderthal variants, which is 96% more than all 23andMe customers. But we'll continue to get back to this in a short minute. On the screen right now, you can see a sped up unboxing of both DNA kits. I thought that 23andMe had a nicer package than Ancestry DNA.
That's what she said.
Seriously, Chad, The Office ended in May of 2013. Get over it. Both DNA kits require you to spit into the tube, which is an important factor to consider if you're buying it for someone who may have trouble generating enough spit. Once you've added the blue dye and boxed your kit back up, you'll ship it off with your prepaid label. I sent both DNA kits out on April 28th, 2019. For Ancestry DNA, it took until May 13th to get my results back, and 23andMe came in 5 days earlier on May 8th. Now, this makes a popular holiday gift to give around the holidays, so it may take longer during peak season, and I recommend sending your DNA kit in back as soon as possible if it's during peak season. Let's take a look at what my ancestry results look like on 23andMe versus Ancestry DNA.
With that side profile, you're 100% the alien from Alien versus Predator.
Despite what my mean fish here says, I'm mostly European. We'll start with Ancestry DNA and go through the results. You can see my genetic profile here according to Ancestry DNA, which all adds up to 100%. It pretty much looks like a World War II invasion map of sorts. If you want to click on any of these regions, you can get more detailed information on them and get a better idea of your history. I should mention that it is touted that Ancestry DNA is a more accurate service for ancestry. However, 23andMe provides more information on your health and possible risks that you have based on your genetics. It also gave me more specific details on my Neanderthal history, where Ancestry DNA did not.
It also helps explain why your eyes are so deep set into your skull.
I don't know who it was that broke your heart, but both you and this video need to move on. Personally, I like the way that my ancestry composition is laid out on 23andMe. You can see the drop-down options here that provide more details on each region. You can see the specific variants contributing to your genetic makeup. Here's the Neanderthal page to give you an idea of the level of detail you'll see. You can see Neanderthals date back to about 40,000 years ago and that they represent 4% of my overall DNA composition. You can also see that I'm less likely to have back hair due to that connection.
Pretty sure that's a typo, Chrome Dome. Let's fix it.
Earlier in the video, I mentioned how you can save money on your DNA kit purchase. You can see on the screen that there is a referral program. You can save 10% on your 23andMe kit and up to 15% on your Ancestry DNA kit if you use my referral link. You can find both links in the description and pinned comment of this video, and you'll receive a discount and I'll get a small commission as well.
Use his link, and maybe he'll be able to afford some hair plugs.
I should have gotten a dog. Let's talk about health reporting that is available only with 23andMe. It'll cost you extra money for the health information, but I found it very interesting. Various studies suggest that your genes are 16 to 25% responsible for you reaching old age. I'll link to the 2018 study in the description below that claims 16% is the more accurate number, which came from a massive 13 million person family tree that was analyzed. I'll warn you, if you are a hypochondriac, I would not recommend getting the health report from 23andMe because it's going to tell you things that you could fret about. That being said, let's take a look at my results. You can see I have a slight increased risk for celiac disease, probably say this one wrong, hereditary thrombophobia, and late onset Alzheimer's disease. The first two are basically gluten intolerance and a higher risk for dangerous blood clots. Keep in mind that these are not a diagnosis, but just a glimpse into what you may be more susceptible to than the average person. If you're an ignorance is bliss kind of person, then I'd recommend not adding the health report.
If you're an ignorance is bliss kind of human, you must be walking on a cloud.
Moving on. Let's take a look at the health action plan provided by 23andMe. As you're going through this, you can see that it gives you advice on what to do for type 2 diabetes and how to avoid that, which is very common. But also for me, because of Alzheimer's disease risk, it gives me some advice there on how to improve sleep and do brain engaging activities. I'll take a look here and just kind of give you an idea here what that looks like. And then you can go back to your health action plan. One of the things that's interesting that I mentioned earlier in the video were traits. This is where the idea of do you prefer vanilla or chocolate ice cream comes in, and a whole bunch of other things. Some of it kind of like asparagus odor detection, which we all know what that means. And it says it likely can smell, and that's spot on. But as you're going through, there's a whole slew of information that you can see in here. And then what you can see is different things that you may not have realized came down to genetics. So let's take a look at newborn hair, likely little baby hair. Well, this makes sense. Actually, my son had very little baby hair. It took a while for his hair to kind of come in. The way they get this information is they survey people with the same genetics as you, and then they tally all this up and they say, you know what, 70% of people with the same genetics as you said that they had very little baby hair when they were born. So if you go down, you can kind of see the scientific details behind the chromosomes and a breakdown of your genetics. And then as you go further, it gives you more information on baby hair and heartburn and things of that nature. So it's really interesting as you can go through every single piece of your traits and figure out things such as I prefer salty food to sweet. I can definitely say that that's true for me. I have seen some of these that don't line up where I'm in the minority versus the majority, but it is interesting. Things even like fear of heights and dandruff and freckles and hair texture and all sorts of things that you can kind of look up on here. And I should highlight it because I mentioned it earlier in the video, but ice cream flavor preference here, we have chocolate versus vanilla ice cream. Says that 56% of people with my genetic profile prefer vanilla ice cream. And when you look at how we got the results here, it says that they actually analyze over 840,000 research participants who have this strong European descent. And it's pretty interesting how they're getting this information and being able to put all of this together. But yeah, like I mentioned, I found this section very interesting. Now, to recap from what I've read and researched and understand is that Ancestry DNA has better accuracy for DNA results. But if I'm going to pick a horse as far as their accuracy, I'd probably actually go with 23andMe. Reason for that is actually one of the co-founders is the wife of the founder of Google. So they've got some serious money in that family, and Google knows how to collect data probably better than any company in the world. So if you had to ask me if you're betting on a horse long-term on this, I would probably say 23andMe for accuracy. The reason that matters is this isn't a normal purchase where, you know, you buy something and then it just kind of deteriorates in value and over time. This is something actually where you're going to purchase it, and the amount of information and understanding that they have is only going to increase in the future. So if I was trying to bet on a horse long-term, I'd definitely go 23andMe just because they are a Google-backed company in some ways. So the last thing that I want to leave you guys with are some crazy DNA stories. So be careful if you think that, you know, maybe your mom had an illegitimate kid and you're actually not her biological kid. Maybe you shouldn't be doing the DNA test. But these stories actually are really interesting. This one comes from a blog from Ancestry.com. It said that one member actually found that there was a witch in the family. So if you recall, the Salem witch trials were amongst the most infamous events in American history. The witch hunt resulted in the deaths of 20 innocent people, 19 through hanging, and one through pressing. I'm not even sure what pressing is. That sounds horrible. There are memorials to each of them in the town square of Salem today, and one Ancestry user traced a family line right back to one of those witch victims. It turns out she is the 9-time great-granddaughter of John Proctor, who was hanged as a witch in 1692. So that one I thought was pretty interesting, but if you really want to go hardcore, you got to go to Reddit. So if you're not familiar with Reddit, it's a social platform, and people can ask questions in threads such as people whose families have been destroyed by 23andMe and other DNA sequencing services, what went down. So you can see crowdsourced answers of the craziest things. So I thought this one was pretty funny from Sal00521. Basically, his or her grandmother found out that her dad was not the real dad, but that it was actually the family doctor, the same doctor that delivered her. So that's pretty crazy. And I guess this family doctor was sleeping around and had a ton of family members all throughout the town.
Oh, that gives new meaning to the term family doctor.
The family doctor actually really was the family doctor. So this one's kind of personally depressing. I'd say the username, but it's kind of crazy. But it says I discovered that I have some of the highest known Neanderthal DNA, more than 99% of users and over 4% of my total DNA. And they said it was cool at first and then not. It bothered my wife a bit at first, thanks to watching a couple documentaries. Okay, I'll make sure that my wife doesn't watch those documentaries, I guess. So if you want to read more from this Reddit thread, I'll include that in the description as well. And again, if you do decide to purchase one of these kits, please consider using my referral link, as you will save on your purchase and I will make a small commission as well. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And as always, give a thumbs up and subscribe. Really appreciate you guys watching. And I hope you find some interesting things and learn a little bit more about your history, because I've found it very interesting digging into mine. All right, guys, until next time, take care and good luck.